Why the Little Frenchman Wears His Arm in a Sling, by Edgar Allan Poe. It's on my visiting cards sure enough, and it's them that's all o' pink satin paper, that any gentleman that places may behold the enthering words, Sir Patrick Grandison, Baronet, 39 Southampton Row, Russell Square, Parish o' Bloomsbury. And should ye be wanting to discover who is the pink of politeness quite, and the lader of the hot tun in the How City of London, why it's just myself. And faith, that same is no wonder at all. So be pleased to stop curling your nose. For every inch o' the 6 weeks that I've been a gentleman, and lived taff with the bog frothing to take up with the baronessy, it's Patrick that's been living like a holy impero, and getting the education and the graces. Ouch, and would it be a blessed thing for your spirits if ye could lay your 2 peepers gist upon Sir Patrick Grandison, Baronet, when he is already dressed for the hopper, or stepping into the brisky for the drive into the Hyde Park. But it's the elegant big figure that I have, for the reason o' which all the ladies fall in love with me. Isn't it my own sweet self now that'll miss you're the 6 foot, and the 3 inches more nor that in me stockings, and that am exceedingly well proportioned all over to match? And is it really more than the 3 foot and a bit that there is, anyhow, of the little old foreigner Frenchman that lives just over the way, and that's ogling and a-goggling the whole day, and bad luck to him, at the purty widdy Miss Thresh-Trackle that's my own next-door neighbour, God bless her and most particular friend and acquaintance. You perceive the little spalpeen is summat down in the mouth, and wears his left hand in a sling, and it's for that same thing, by your lave, that I'm going to give you the good rasson. The truth of the whole matter is just simple enough. For the very first day that I comed from Connaught, and showed my sweet little sylph in the street to the widdy, who was looking through the windy, it was a gone case altogether with the heart o' the purty Miss Thresh-Trackle. I perceived it, ye see, all at once, and no mistake, and that's God's truth. First of all it was up with the windy in a jiffy, and then she threw open her 2 peepers to the utmost, and then it was a little gold spy-glass that she clapped tight to one o' them, and Deville may burn me if it didn't spake to me as plain as a peeper could spake, and says it, through the spy-glass, ouch. The tip o' the morning to ye, Sir Patrick Grandison, Baronet, mavourneen, and it's a nate gentleman that ye are, sure enough, and it's myself and me fortin gist that'll be at your service, dear, any time o' day at all for the asking. And it's not myself ye would have to be bait in the politeness, so I made her a bow that would have broken your heart altogether to behold, and then I pulled off me hat with a flourish, and then I winked at her hard with both eyes, as much as to say, through for you, you're a sweet little creature, Mrs. Trackle, me darlint, and I wish I may be drowned dead in a bog, if it's not myself, Sir Patrick Grandison, Baronet, that'll make a whole bushel o' love to your ladyship, in the twinkling o' the eye of a Londonderry pirati. And it was the next morning, sure enough, just as I was making up me mind whether it wouldn't be the polite thing to send a bit o' writing to the widdy by way of a love letter, when up comed the delivery servant with an elegant card, and he told me that the name on it, for I never could read the copperplate printing on account of being left-handed, was all about Mounseer, the Count, a goose, look see, mater die dawns, and that the howl o' the devilish lingo was the spalpeeny long name of the little old foreigner Frenchman as lived over the way. And just with that in come the little villain himself, and then he made me a broth of a bow, and then he said he had only taken the liberty of doing me the honor of the giving me a call, and then he went on to palaver at a great rate, and devil the bit did I comprehend what he would be after the telling me at all, excepting and saving that he said pulley woo, woolly woo, and told me, among a bushel o' lies, bad luck to him, that he was mad for the love o' my widdy Miss Threstrackle, and that my widdy Mrs. Trackle had a puncheon for him. At the hearing of this, ye may swear, though, I was as mad as a grasshopper, but I remembered that I was Sir Patrick Grandison, Baronet, and that it wasn't altogether gentle to let the anger get the upper hand o' the politeness. So I made light o' the matter and kept dark, and got quite sociable with the little chap, and after a while what did he do but ask me to go with him to the widdy's, saying he would give me the fashionable introduction to her ladyship. Is it there ye are? Said I then to myself, and it's through for you, Patrick, that you're the fortunatest mortal in life. We'll soon see now whether it's your sweet sylph, dear, or whether it's its little mounseer mater die dawns, that Miss Threstrackle is head and ears in the love with. With that we went off to the widdy's, next door, and ye may well say it was an elegant place. So it was. There was a carpet all over the floor, and in one corner there was a 40-penny and a Jew's hop and the devil knows what else, and in another corner was a Sophie, the beautifulest thing in all nature, and sitting on the Sophie, sure enough there was the sweet little angel, Miss Threstrackle. The tip o' the morning to ye, says I, Mrs. Trackle, and then I made seech an elegant obeisance that it would ha quite altogether bewildered the brain o' ye. Wally woo, pulley woo, plump in the mud, says the little foreigner Frenchman, and sure enough Mrs. Trackle, says he, that he did. Isn't this gentleman here just his reverence Sir Patrick Grandison, Baronet, and isn't he altogether and entirely the most particular friend and acquaintance that I have in the whole world? And with that the widdy, she gets up from the Sophie, and makes the swattest curtsy nor ever was seen, and then down she gets again like an angel, and then, by the powers, it was that little spalpeen mounseer mated idawns that plumped hisself right down by the right side of her. Hun, I expected the two eyes o' me would ha come out of my head on the spot. I was so despirit mad. However, bait who, says I, after a while, is it there ye are, mounseer mated idawns? And so down I plumped on the left side of her ladyship, to be a vain with the willing. Botheration, it would ha done your heart good to perceive the elegant double wink that I gived her just thin right in the face with both eyes. But the little old Frenchman he never begin to suspect me at all, and desperate hard it was he made the love to her ladyship. Wally woo, says he, pulley woo, says he, plump in the mud. That's all to no use, mounseer frog, mavourneen, thinks I, and I talked as hard and as fast as I could all the while, and troth it was myself just that diverted her ladyship completely and entirely, by reason of the elegant conversation that I kept up with her all about the sweet bogs of Connaught. And by she gived me such a sweet smile, from one endy of her mouth to the other, that it made me as bald as a pig, and I just took hold of the endy of her little finger in the most delicatest manner in nature, looking at her all the while out o' the whites of my eyes. And then only to perceive the cuteness of the sweet angel, for no sooner did she observe that I was after the squeezing of her flipper, thin she up with it in a jiffy, and put it away behind her back, just as much as to say, "Now thin, Sir Patrick Grandison, there's a bit hut chance for ye, mavourneen, for it's not altogether the gentle thing to be aft here the squeezing of my flipper right full in the sight of that little foreigner Frenchman, Mounseer mated eye dawns." With that I gived her a big wink just to say, "Let Sir Patrick alone for the like so them fricks," and then I went airsy to work, and you'd have died with the Devarsian to behold how cleverly I slipped my right arm between the back o' the Sophie and the back of her ladyship, and there, sure enough, I found a sweet little flipper all a-waiting to say, "The tip o' the morning to ye, Sir Patrick Grandison, Baronet." And wasn't it myself, sure, that just give the last little bit of a squeeze in the world, all in the way of a commencement, and not to be too rough with her ladyship. And botheration, wasn't it the gentlest and delicatest of all the little squeezes that I got in return? Blood and thunder, Sir Patrick, mavourneen, thinks I to myself, faith it's just the mother's son of you, and nobody else at all. At all. That's the handsomest and the fortunatest young bog throtter that ever comed out of Connaught. And with that I give the flipper a big squeeze, and a big squeeze it was, by the powers, that her ladyship give to me back. But it would ha split the seven sides of you with the laughing to behold, just thin all at once, the concated behaviour of Mounseer mated eye dawns. The like so seech a jabbering, and a smirking, and a polly-wooing as he begid with her ladyship, neither was known before upon earth. And Deville may burn me if it wasn't my own very two peepers that cotched him tipping her the wink out of one eye. Hun, if it wasn't myself thin that was as mad as a Kilkenny cat, I should like to be told who it was. "Let me inform you, Mounseer mated eye dawns," said I, "as pearlit as iver ye seed, that it's not the gentle thing at all, and not for the like so you anyhow, to be aft here the ogling and a goggling at her ladyship in that fashion." And just with that such another squeeze as it was I gived her flipper, all as much as to say, "Isn't it Sir Patrick now, my jewel, that'll be able to the protecting o' you, my darlint?" And then there comed another squeeze back, all by way of the answer. "Through for you, Sir Patrick," it said as plain as iver a squeeze said in the world. "Through for you, Sir Patrick, mavourneen, and it's a proper nate gentleman ye are. That God's truth." And with that she opened her two beautiful peepers till I believed they would ha comed out of her head altogether and entirely, and she looked first as mad as a cat at Mounseer Frog, and then as smiling as all out o' doors at myself. "Then," says he, "the Willian, hun, and a woolly woo, pulley woo," and then with that he shoved up his two shoulders, till the devil the bit of his head was to be discovered, and then he let down the two corners of his parati trap, and then not the bit more of the satisfaction could I get out o' the spalpeen. Believe me, my jewel, it was Sir Patrick that was unreasonable mad thin, sure enough, and the more by token that he kept on with his winking and blinking at the widdy. And the widdy she kept on with the squeezing of my flipper, as much as to say, "At him again, Sir Patrick Grandison, mavourneen," so I just stripped out with a big oath, and says I, "Sure enough, ye little spalpeeny frog of a bog throtting son of a bloody noun." And just thin what I think it was that her ladyship did. Troth she jumped up from the sofa as if she was bit, and made aft through the door, while I turned my head round aft her. in a complete bewilderment and botheration, and followed her with me to peepers. Upa cave I had a rason of my own for the knowing that she couldn't get down the stairs altogether and entirely. For I knew very well that I had howled of her hand, for devil the bit had I ever let it go. And says I, isn't it the last little bit of a mistake in the world that you've been after the making, your ladyship? Come back now, that's a darlint, and I'll give ye your flipper. But half she went down the stairs like a shot, and then I turned round to the little French foreigner. Hun, if it wasn't his spalpeeny little flipper that I had howled of in my own, why thin it wasn't, that's all. Maybe it wasn't myself that just died thin outright with the laughing, to behold the little chap when he found out that it wasn't the widdy at all that he had howled of, but only Sir Patrick Grandison. The owl devil himself never beheld such a long face as he pet on. As for Sir Patrick Grandison, Baronet, it wasn't for the likes of his reverence to be after the minding a thrifle of a mistake. Ye may just say, though, for it's God's truth, that afore I lift howled of the flipper of the spalpeen, which was not till after her ladyship's footman had kicked us both down the stairs, I gived it such a nate little broth of a squaze, as made it all up into raspberry jam. Woolly woo, says he, pully woo, says he, cottam. And that's just the truth of the rason why he wears his left hand in a sling.